Attorney General Ken Paxton of the state of Texas. He joins us now from Dallas. And Mr. Attorney General Paxton, appreciate you calling in, sir.
Hey, glad to be on. I appreciate you having me on. It's going to be a fun year coming up.
Can I ask? We know you've announced your Senate run, and so that's a very very exciting for you and your team that you're going to be. You've thrown your hat in the ring for that. I want to talk to you more about that. In the meantime, though, I thought perhaps you could just give us your perspective. If a state attorney general is involved in multiple mortgage frauds, if that is found to be true, shouldn't that state attorney general? I'm sure you're familiar with what's going on in New York and Attorney General Letitia James and the allegations that are out there right now. Aren't you, Attorney General Paxton, held to a higher standard as a chief law enforcement officer in your state? And shouldn't that be the case in New York as well?
Well, certainly not necessarily a higher standard, but she ought to be held to the standard that everybody else is, which is if she's violating the law, she should be held accountable for that. And if she's committed a crime, she should be prosecuted for that. And obviously that would affect her ability to continue as Attorney General of New York.
A lot of discussion. Well, first of all, let's allow you to tell our audience who may not have heard otherwise. You have had a lot of success in Texas electoral politics already. You've won a lot of battles. You've fought a lot of battles. People have come after you aggressively. And you are going to be running now for the Senate from Texas. That is next year, but the process is underway. When's the primary? What do you expect it to look like? And for people out there that may not have been familiar with you in the past, why are you the right choice?
So the primary is the first Tuesday of March. So we're, approximately 10 and a half months away from the primary. And obviously John Cornyn is our current senator, been there for 23 years, going on 24. He'd like to stay 30. For one, I think that's too long. And for two, I don't feel like he's done a good job representing our people. I don't think he's done a good job, and I think it's time for a change. So that's why I'm running. There's a lot of issues that I'm frustrated, and I think our voters are frustrated with. And it takes a lot of effort to win a statewide race in Texas. You need name ID, you need money, and there just aren't that many people that have the name ID or the ability to raise funds that can go against the sitting incumbent, especially in the state of Texas, which
we may have just lost him there for a sec. If we want to make sure he get his cell phone, he's in Dallas right now. He's begun the campaign, and he was just laying out, Buck, what is going to be probably, I think it's fair to say, the biggest Republican primary battle in 2026 anywhere in the country. John Cornyn, who has been in office for some time, current sitting Texas senator, and Ken Paxton, who is the attorney general right now of Texas, very well known, but I wanted you guys to hear from him exactly the choice that he was making, is going to be a big, expensive, huge battle. He just laid it out March of next year.
So let me ask you, just Attorney General Paxton, because this is going to be a primary. A lot of people spend time thinking about and involved in. It'll be a lot of dollars. And for anyone who's listening, I just want to be clear, we will, because we don't endorse in primaries, we will have an invite out to Senator Cornyn as well, so he can make his case. But Attorney General Paxton, where have you broken with Cornyn on a major issue? I mean, what you said that you don't agree with some of the positions he's taken and some of what he's done to represent the state of Texas. Can you give us some examples so we can just start to understand what the differences are between the two of you?
Sure. I'll give you a couple of examples. First was his push for the gun restrictions that he was able to pass with the encouragement of Joe Biden. And he was able to do that, restricting gun ownership rights. Very unpopular position in Texas, particularly in the primary, as you might imagine. And I remember after it was done that Donald Trump came out and called him a rhino, and President Biden congratulated him on doing a great job. That'll never happen with me. You will never see me congratulated by a president like Joe Biden. Another issue that he's been very, very bad on is the border. He's criticized Trump's building of the wall over and over. He said negative things about it, not wanting to do it. He's insinuated that he would be for amnesty. Those are both very unpopular positions in Texas. We're a border state. We need all the protection we can get, not less. And then, of course, he's not been a fan of President Trump. In 2016, he called President Trump an albatross around our neck. And in 2024, he said he was not endorsing President Trump, that we should move on, and that he also insinuated that President Trump had committed crimes and potentially should be held accountable for those crimes. So those are three of the issues that are I think are important to our voters, and I think those are very much distinguish me from him.
So let's dive into this in particular. You just mentioned President Trump. I think he won the state of Texas by 12, 14 points. You probably know the exact margin, but it wasn't close. I'm assuming that if he hasn't already, that he is going to be endorsing you pretty wholeheartedly for this office. Given that you have worked quite a lot with Trump when it comes to the border, when it comes to legal-related issues, how effective do you think you would be working with Trump in 2027 if you're able to hold that right hand up and become the next senator from Texas?
Yeah, certainly the endorsement is up to him. I don't presume anything, but I will say this. I've had a great working relationship with President Trump from almost the day he got into office. I didn't know him, but we went back and forth on many, many issues while he was in his first term. I've kept in touch with him since then during the times he was out of office, and have been a big supporter. As a matter of fact, I was one of two elected officials that showed up at Mar-a-Lago. The other was Congressman Troy Nehls, that actually showed up when he announced. Because if you'll remember, when he announced, there was a lot of issues swirling about his legal issues, and a lot of Republicans were keeping their distance because DeSantis was on the move. And I was there with Troy Nehls because, one, I knew that President Trump would do a great job, and two, I'm loyal to people that I trust and I believe in.
Speaking to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, he is going to be running for a Senate seat against the incumbent there, John Cornyn. And AG Paxton, I wanted to lean on your legal expertise, if I could, for a second. How do you assess this back and forth, right? The media is completely drilled into now this Mr. Abrego Garcia, who is being currently held in El Salvador. I wanted to just hear what you think about all of the objections that are coming from some people about the process, the judge that's involved, what you think should happen. You know, you handle these kinds of decisions as an attorney general for our second biggest state. What do you think about what's going on here?
Well, I think this judge has crossed the line. This is the executive branch. This judge has crossed. We're all about separation of powers. The judiciary is supposed to be the weakest branch, and they are supposed to stay out of the legislative side, and they're supposed to stay out of the executive side. This judge has clearly stepped into the shoes of the executive role and taken control of the situation. I think that's wrong, and I think that needs to stop. I think Congress needs to act and stop these nationwide injunctions that aren't based in any fact or law. We certainly, I think there are narrow cases that we used against Joe Biden when it was a nationwide issue, but this one is clearly in the purview of the executive, and this judge just needs to be stopped.
How has life in Texas changed since Joe Biden left office, Trump came in particular when it comes to the border? We talk about it on the program because basically the border has ceased to be an issue at all. It is now secure. What does that look like? What does it feel like in Texas?
I think people are excited. They feel safer. The costliness of it has gone down. Obviously, for us, it meant a lot of expense from law enforcement, health insurance, all kinds of different issues, education. That's our cost, and the federal government never stepped in, even though they were inviting these people in and working with the cartels to get them across the border. They were not helping us financially. And so it's a huge relief to us. And obviously our legislature spent billions of dollars trying to protect the border in lieu of the Biden administration doing just the opposite. So it has a tremendous financial impact, but it's also, I think people just feel safer knowing that we have a president that's protecting our border.
We're number one in Austin, off and on. We're number one in San Antonio, off and on. We are number one in Houston, off and on. I say off and on because on a weekly, monthly basis, things can evolve. But we have monster audience across the entire state of Texas, and we appreciate all of you listening right now. We're also newly on in Dallas, which is where I think you are right now. When you look at this March primary that is coming up next year, I know the answer is everywhere in terms of where will this race be decided. But in particular, What areas? What does turnout look like? A lot of times people don't show up necessarily in big numbers for primaries. What does it take for you to beat an incumbent senator who certainly is going to have a lot of money as well?
Well, I mean, we've already done 3 polls with 3 different pollsters. I did one with Trump's pollster. That had me up by 25. I did one with Ted Cruz's pollster. That has me up by 25. And we did a third one just to make sure. It was 27. So the voters,
Wow.
I mean, a lot of it's already baked in. They know John Cornyn. He's been in office for over 40 years. They know me. I've been in office in the Attorney General's office for 11 years now. And so I think the primary voters are really educated. I feel very strongly that we are going to do well everywhere. And it's all based on record, and he's going to have to spend, since his record is not what the voters want. He's not going to be talking about his record. He's not going to be talking about mine, because my record is a record that the voters like. He's going negative personally. That's his a lot of attack, and he's got to pray that somehow Trump does not that he endorses him, because that would be his only way of getting into the game, and he's still going to lose.
Do you think it's possible he drops out, decides not to run?
Look, I don't presume anything. He says he's running. I'm playing this for, I'm going to run against John Cornyn. So that would be a great question for him. I'm sure no matter what he's thinking in his head, it's got to have crossed his mind if he's that far down. He's polled it. He knows that he's behind by double digits. And look, I've been to the Republican convention. The last time he spoke, that he dared to speak to the Republican voters, that was 3 years ago. He got booed for 30 straight minutes. And I'm not talking quiet boos. I'm talking loudly booed for 30 minutes. And that was all based on what he did with the restrictions on gun ownership in our state.
Attorney General Paxton, appreciate you being with us, sir. Best of luck to you. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, have a great day. Thanks for having me on.
That's going to be a battle, Buck. And it's going to be interesting to see how all of that shakes out. But maybe you're in Texas listening to us right now. As I just said, Austin. I might have forgotten to say Austin. We're number one a lot of the time. Houston, we're number one a lot of the time. San Antonio, we're number one a lot of the time. Now on in Dallas as well. You know what you can do in that state? All over Texas? You can play Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com, code CLAY right now. All over the state of Texas, all over the state of California, all over the state of Georgia. If you're feeling left out, you can get $50 right now. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com, code CLAY, get signed up. You play $5, you get $50. If you love Major League Baseball, I'm a big fan of the Braves. Maybe you want to go get signed up. You can play along with the season. If you love the NBA, if you love the NHL, if you are just a big sports fan, you liked the Masters that just played out, you got the U.S. Open, British Open still to come. As we move through the golf season, get hooked up. All you have to do is pick more or less on any athlete out there, and you can be on your way to having a lot of fun and hopefully making a bundle of cash in the process. Prize Picks, my name, Clay. That's prizepicks.com. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com/Clay for restrictions and details, and get $50 right now. Prizepicks.com. My name, Clay.